Hello everybody, my name's Steve, I'm the British Railroader and welcome to my model railroad room for another episode in my series where I detail an Atlas GP38-2. This is Project 2790. So in today's episode, we're going to be looking at the fitting of ditch lights. This is something which seems to generate an awful lot of interest. One of the things that I'm going to say is that today I'm not going to be wiring up the ditch lights. That's going to be another episode towards the end where I actually just finish off all the wiring onto the decoder, etc. But today is about fitting the physical headlight lenses, etc., and just going through what I've used. So let's just go down onto the workbench and we'll have a little look at how we do this. Okay, so here we are down on the workbench and we're going to fit ditch lights to 2790 just here. But first I need to talk to you about what I've used to make the ditch lights. Now I've actually attached the rear ones and one of the front ones, just because it saves a little bit of time, so I can demonstrate the various steps to you. But I'm just going to go very briefly through the construction. Now, I mentioned earlier on in this build that I have used some 3D printed, if I can pick the thing up, lenses. So I'm just going to bring this up to the camera and then just focus. So as you can see here, the actual lens casing is that grey plastic part, which is a 3D printed lens from CMR Products, website address below. Now I've used CMR Products a few times. They do some very, very nice bits. They will ship to the UK, but you have to contact them, send them an email because they calculate that separately. They do various different types, but they didn't do quite the right, not housing, but sort of brackets and whatever. So I fabricated a bracket here and I'll show you very quickly how I did that. So let's just zoom back out again. There we go. Just one little tip just around ditch lights is that if you can't get hold of ditch light housing, then you can make your own ditch light housing using this. This is number 224, which is 3.2 millimeter diameter tube. And literally what you would do is slice the tube just a couple of millimeters thick, and then glue that onto whatever supporting brackets you've made up for your locomotive. And this works very, very well. I mean, this part's a bit raggedy because I've used it for something else, but I've made ditch lights this way a couple of times. So it's just an alternative if you can't get hold of things like the CMR products or similar. So I've done this using bits of evergreen plastics. There's three types of evergreen that I've used. The first one is 264 channels, so this is 3.2 millimeters wide. That's 1/8 of an inch, apparently. Sorry, guys. In America, I'm not very good with sub-inch measurements, so I tend to do everything in millimeters. But this is 264, so that's some channel. And then we've got some. Let's see. The next one is 136. So this is 3.2 millimeter wide strip, but it's also 0.75 millimeters thick. So it's a thickish strip. And then I've also used some 105, which is it's very, very thin. So it's 0.25 millimeters by 2.5 millimeters wide. And I'll explain how I've used these. Let's just move these to one side. So for the front ditch lights, as you could probably see on the one I showed you, we started with a piece of the channel. Let's just zoom in a little bit on this. There we go. So I started with a piece of the channel. And then I took the thicker number 136, which is again 3.2 millimeters wide, and laminated it on top so that you've got quite a thick base there. And that turns into basically this here. So as you can see, it's channel, but it's quite thick. That was then chopped into, so this is 3.2 millimeters wide, and I've chopped it into squares, again 3.2 millimeters, so that we end up with the base that I've used on the ditch light. So as you can see, and the ditch light is literally just super glued on there. Now the only difference with the rear ditch lights is I took the 125 strip and then added a little laminate of the 105 strip on the back, basically leaving a gap below. So what I wanted to do was create kind of like a stepped effect, which if I show you on this one, I think you can just see that there. Let's just focus on that. But what I did was I used two strips, one on top of each other, so that you've got some thickness. And the reason for this is, and the reason for both of these, is that these ditch lights normally protrude just over the coupler cut bar. So this one straddles it, but this one just goes over the top of it at the bottom just here. Okay, so that's how I made the ditch lights. And then to fix them on, I literally got a little bit, I tend to use Gorilla super glue because it's a little bit thicker, but also gives you a little bit of working room. So we're going to take our glue on the top and on the bottom, take our loco, find where we want to place it, and put it in the right place. Now I'm doing this by eye. As you can see, the other one is already in place. There we go. So that's the front ditch lights on. As you can see as well, we've got the back ones on. And the next step, once everything is dry, is to drill holes through them to take the wires. So what I've got here is a 1.7 mil drill bit, and I am just going to drill through this. Now I'm just going to go through the upper part just so that I miss that coupler cut bar. And it doesn't matter which way it's angled through, as long as it just goes through. As you can see, it's gone through the loco. You just focus on that, just there. So that's where the wires will go through. Okay, get rid of that. And I'll do the other side once it's dry. So the next stage is to paint the housing. Okay, so the first thing that we want to do when it comes to painting is paint the whole of the fitting black, or whatever colour your, I was about to say buffer beam, which is the wrong thing, but your pilot is. So what I've got here is just some Vallejo model colour black paint. I think it's got quite a satin finish. And I'm literally just going to paint everything. The housing, the brackets, inside of the housing. I'm going to give that a coat of black paint. Okay. That's fairly straightforward. My paintbrush at wash. One of the good things about Vallejo paints is that they are water-based, so a bit of water cleans your brushes nicely. So the next thing that we need to look at is the housing, because the housing would be a metallic colour. So what I've got here is some Vallejo Air aluminium paint. Now, Vallejo Air is designed to use in an airbrush. Makes sense, this is called Vallejo Air, but it really does paint on quite nicely. So we just get this in the right position. We're just going to put that rogue hair that was on there, and just very carefully paint the headlight lens housing. Hopefully you can see me doing that. It's a bit fiddly. There we go. And that just makes it stand out. A bit more paint on the inside because that makes the inside a bit more reflective. Now the reason I painted it black first is that when we put the LEDs in here, you do get some light bleed through the plastic. And so just by painting it black and then by painting it silver just gives you that extra bit of coverage. So I'm just going to put that down and let that dry for a minute before we move on to fitting the LEDs. Okay, so the last thing that I've got to do is to fit the lenses or the LEDs and also make the lenses. So I'm going to start with the LEDs. So these are tiny, they're about 1 millimeter. They're kind of like, they're not quite bright white, but they're also not quite warm white. They might be bright white ones. I tend to, for more modern locos, go for the brighter LEDs. And you can get these packs of 10 on eBay. They come from China. Just zoom in there, you can see. You've probably seen loads of these. I know Larry Puckett uses these at varying different sizes. I think this is the smallest one that you can get. They come with a resistor wired to them, but I cut the resistors off because then I can standardize on what resistors I use, and I'll talk about that when we look at the actual wiring. And literally all you need to do is take the ends of these, the wired bare wire ends, and take your loco, poke them into the ditch light, and basically wiggle them around until you find the hole that you drilled. Okay, so start again. Take your bare wires. I tend to try and line them up a little bit because that just makes life easier. And poke them in, and hopefully now you'll find the hole and just thread them through. As you can see, look, they come out here. Pull them through, make sure you don't get tangled up with anything, any other wires that you've got going on, and just pull it right in. And once you've done that, what I suggest is turn your body upside down, get a little bit of, I'm just using some decorator's tape, pull everything taut, and then just sellotape it to the inside of the body. Okay, so I've done it with that one, and I've done the same with the rear ditch lights. So we now have light. And what I'm going to do, just to show to you this works, I have my LED tester. I'm just going to pick one of these ditch lights, crocodile clips. Oops, so many wires, it gets so tangled here and here. We'll grab it in a second. Oh look, we've got a bright ditch light. So that's that tested. All of the others have been done. And now what we're going to do is look at the lenses and how I make those. Now, you can buy molded plastic lenses and they're lovely and whatever, but hard for me to get hold of. So I use this stuff. It's called glue and glaze. You use it for gluing clear plastic, so that if there's any overspill, it doesn't show. But also you can make lenses with this. So I'm going to pour a little bit out onto this little tray. I'm going to do it with the back ones because the back ones were painted earlier and therefore have been drying for a lot longer. Take a toothpick, or as we call them in the UK, a cocktail stick. Pick up a blob and basically fill in your aperture. That will just slowly go in. Sometimes you want to do a couple of applications because you kind of want to fill the hole. And leave that to dry. And that will take a couple of hours to dry. But it dries clear. And one of the good things about it is because it's kind of like a rubber solution, that if anything goes wrong with the ditch lights or the LEDs and you need to replace them, it's easy enough to pick it out, and it holds the LED in place. So there's no super glue involved. You're not going to have to break a bond if you need to replace one of the LEDs. It's very wonderful stuff, and I use it all the time for things like this. Here we go, and you can build it up so that you actually do get that kind of bulbous looking lens. So we're going to leave that to dry. I'll do the other end as well, and we'll come back and take a look at the results. Okay, so here we go. We've got the last little bit. The lenses have almost dried, and I've hooked all of the ditch lights up to my little tester. We just turn this around on my very dirty Lazy Susan. You can see all of the ditch lights here. Just focus that a bit better. There we go. All lit up. So I'd say that was pretty successful. Obviously, the next few things to do, just looking at the locomotive, there's some things to do on the roof here. We've got to put the horn in, the little box thing, the cab sunshades, the windscreen wipers, and also, if we just turn it round like this, just at the rear here, there is a handrail that just needs to, a curved handrail that needs to be formed and put on the top. But that will be the next video. Okay, so I hope that that was pretty self-explanatory and straightforward. If you do have any questions, then please comment below, put them in the comment section below, and I will try to answer them for you. If not, you can always email me at this email address, which is either coming this way across the screen or that way across the screen. Who knows? And I will get back to you. But that's it from me today for this update on Project 2790. I'd like to thank everybody for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't done so already, why not just click that little subscribe button? When the bell comes up, hit that and press all, and you will be notified of all of my new videos as they come out. But that's it from me. My name's Steve. I'm the British Railroader, and I'm saying goodbye from my model railroad room. Bye-bye.